living or working in an environment that has mold can make you really sick. I'm Deborah McIntyre, and this channel is all about giving you information so you can take health matters into your own hands and protect yourself. So I'm going to demonstrate a very simple screening test that you can do to see if mold might be a problem for you. Now, I have so many people that come on and comment when I do this. You guys, this is a screening test. This is not the end-all be-all test for mold, but this is a very inexpensive way to just say, yes, there's a problem, or no, there's not a problem. All of the things I'm going to talk about, you can look in the link tree, and there is a link to purchase these mold products that you can test for yourself. So first of all, I'm going to get some Petri dishes out, and I'm going to test my own body, and I'm also going to test my clothes. All right, so the Petri dishes, if you remember from your science class, they have a little gel inside that will grow any kind of infectious, bacteria, fungus, yeast, or mold. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna open one of these up, and the first thing I'm gonna do is test my body to see, have I developed a fungal, issue in my sinuses or my lungs? So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take this plate and I'm going to write on it. I'm going to write L and R. So I can tell if it's my left nostril or my right nostril that has the bigger problem that might need attention, or maybe neither of them do. But let's find out. So what you're going to do is you're going to take a Q-tip. And it's not a COVID test, you don't have to go deep, but you're just gonna put it inside your nose and swish it around a few times. That was my right side, so I'm gonna put it on the right side of this dish, and see, I'm just waving it back and forth. Then I'm gonna turn it around. I don't want the gel in my other nostril. I'm going to do it around on the other side, and then I'm going to just write like a big S, series of S's on the other side. Then I'm going to hold it up to myself, and I'm going to cough in it 3 deep times. Okay, great. Now I'm going to put this back on with the R and the L on the appropriate side. I'm going to tape it with a little bit of tape. Good. And then I'm going to put it inside a baggie. This is very important when you're testing, because if any fungus grows, you certainly don't want to get exposed to it, when you see the test, and you just don't want to re-expose yourself to what's grown. So you're going to put it in a baggie, seal it up. Then it needs to be dark. So I use aluminum foil, and I'm going to wrap the whole thing in aluminum foil so that no light can get to it. Now, you guys, it's so tempting to look at this before 3 days are up, but do not open it up and look, because sunlight will kill fungus, and you want to get an accurate picture of what's growing in your body. So you're going to put this away inside a cabinet, on top of your refrigerator, something like that, until you're ready to look at it. Now, so that's going to tell me if I've developed fungus in my body, but what about my clothes? So I'm going to take another Petri dish, and your clothes, depending on where you've been, will give you a general idea of if there might be mold in your environment. Again, to all your naysayers, it's a screening tool. If I was out raking leaves in my yard, I'm not going to test my clothes, because that's not going to give me an accurate reading. I want to know, is the building that I've been hanging out in harboring mold that could be making me sick? You can also, I do this with people who have little kids. I have them test clothes on their kids on a weekend when they've just been home for the morning and not been playing outside, test the clothes. But then also when the kids come home from school, before they change out of their school clothes, do another test on their school clothes. I've had several kids that showed up with horrible mold problems in their school, and they're just constantly sick, fighting respiratory infections. So here's how you're going to test on your clothes. You're going to take a second Petri dish, and you want the side with the gel, and you're just going to tap. Tap, tap, tap. Tap, tap, tap. I would do my pants a little bit. You can't see that, but you just tap a few times on the different clothing, pieces that you have, and then you're going to cap this up. Again, a little bit of tape on it. And then you're going to put it into the baggie, and then you're going to cover it with the aluminum foil so that nothing can get in. Now let's say you're testing school clothes and home clothes. Well, then just write either on the baggie or on the plate itself which clothes there are, so when you open this up to take a look, you're gonna know. So we'll wrap this up as well in foil and wait 3 full days to look at it. Now you can use these plates to test the air in your environment. And if you don't have any upholstered furniture or carpet or anything like that to test, you can do an air test, but not all molds become airborne. In fact, Stachybotrys, which is also known as black mold, is one that doesn't become airborne very easily, so you might miss it if you're just doing an air test. And again, this is just a screening tool. I'm not recommending this as the end-all be-all for your environment. But you can use other plates. You get 4 plates to a kit, so you may end up with a couple of extras, and you can test around your environment as well. If you're going to tap test on carpet, you don't want to do it in the center of the room where everybody's walking around. You want to go next to a wall so that foot traffic is not bringing anything in from the outside. And you're going to tap just like I did on my clothes, just tap a few places. If you have upholstered furniture, you can do that. But if your dog or cat lives on the upholstered furniture, don't test that. They are going to have that stuff in their fur. You're going to get a false read. You're going to freak out when the whole thing is filled with mold, and that could not be a problem for you. So you can use the extra 2 plates to either test other family members or, like I mentioned before, home clothes versus work clothes. So I want to give you some examples of what these look like. So I've gotten some criticism on videos like this because people say, oh, all you have to do is open the Petri dish and there's mold in the environment, it's going to grow something. No, you're going to see for yourself it does not. So here's an example of a nose and cough that did not show anything up. Here's one where you can clearly see where the Q-tip was rubbed on the plate. That is coming from the nose. And but nothing else. When it's a cough, you're going to get splatters on the plate as well. Now, what happens if you do have fungus in your sinuses, or you do find that lots and lots of these spores are growing from your clothes? If you get a lot of mold showing on your clothes, then this screen told you, hey, there's something there to look further at. Now, it's difficult to find good mold testers. You can do air samples, and a lot of companies do that, and that can be good. All of them are a little bit expensive. So depending on the size of your home, you could spend some money, trying to find the source. But that's important. You want to find the source, because if you don't correct where it's coming from, you're going to just keep up in this, unhealthy environment. And you guys, I've seen chronic fatigue syndrome be linked to mold. I've seen neurological issues like anxiety, ADD, ADHD, even like Parkinson's and MS can be related to mold toxicity. That could be one of the triggers. It's not something you want to just blow off. Yes, chronic infections are one of the most common things that you would see people manifesting, they just catch colds all the time, but that's not necessarily the only thing. So if there's mold in your environment, it can be toxic to your kidneys, to your liver, and it can cause all kinds of health problems. So air testing, you want to test several rooms. Don't just say, well, this is expensive, let me test 2 rooms. No, you want to go ahead and spring for testing multiple rooms. They'll test your indoor air and they'll test the outdoor air and they'll compare the two. Now that is important, but also you want to look at the types of mold that show up and the quantity of that mold, because multiple molds can make you sick. It's not just black mold. Most of the practitioners who are in this space, like I am, are here because we've had our own experience. Aspergillus and penicillium were what made me so sick, and it literally took me months to recover, even knowing everything that I know. So, don't underestimate the power of these molds. Now, in addition to air testing, you can use a mold sniffing dog. So I would recommend, if you are, if you want to get every single instance of where mold could be, the dogs do a really good job. It's a little controversial because dogs with a long career of mold sniffing, of course, are getting exposed to mold. So some people, just want to check the ethics of the handler. Are they being sure the dog's not overly exposed to mold? Are they taking care of the dog's health to be sure that the dog is being well taken care of? So anyway, there's multiple ways to check, but you do want to get somebody in to check for the mold. Humidity is one of the biggest factors with indoor mold. I mean, other than leaks, if you've had a plumbing leak, if you've had a roof leak, that kind of thing. Of course, that's an invitation to mold if it didn't, very quickly get properly cleaned up. But humidity is the other one. Here in the Atlanta area where I am, we're humid all the time. Right now, not so much because it's just turning from winter to spring. But let me tell you, when the summertime gets here, it's going to be out of control. So this is a little device called a humidity gauge. You can get this online. You can get it at, Home Depot, Lowe's, something like that. And it immediately tells you, it takes like a couple of seconds to read the humidity in a room. What I recommend that people do is go to each room of their home and your basement if you have one, and just see what is the humidity in that room. Laundry rooms are common problem areas, anywhere where moisture could be, in the air. Kitchen would be another example. And then I also tell people, hey, take this humidity gauge, open the cabinets under the sinks for your kitchen and your bathrooms and hold it underneath and see what's the humidity under there. If you've got any kind of low-level water leak going on, that could show up. Again, this is a screening method so that when the professional mold inspector comes, you have an idea of where to guide them to look further at your own home. Now, what should your humidity be? Anything over 55% is inviting mold growth, and that can be tough, so go ahead and check that and see what it is in your home and see if you've got a vulnerability factor.